So I had to
Oh,
edit this
damn.
in, guys.
Do the chat monster poster.
I obviously made this new set today. I hope you like it. Thea made this new poster.
Too close to the camera.
She's my sister. She drew this up, so thank you, Thea. It says Chat Monster. So Thea,
It's
Sweet.
so
It
funny
really
because
is.
on our screen it's like super pixelated.
Yeah, I can't read it.
But I'm sure on
That's
your
so-
screen it looks fine.
That's such a sick poster though. I can't believe she did that. That's awesome.
That's fire. T-shirts soon coming.
yeah, she was-
Yeah, merch.
Yeah.
Who took that look away? I remember how you used to say you never change, but that's not true. Oh, Caroline, who took that look away?
But yeah,
That's
it's a
it.
little off the monitor. I'm gonna have my camera on this monitor.
Oh, second monitor, cool guy. Maybe I should turn my fucking light on.
Lock up the house.
Oh, I forgot to shave. If I didn't shave for months, I would like look like normal. All right, take one. Today we are looking at the album Love Nostalgia by Dreamer Boy. He is based out of Spokane, Washington. Is located now in Tennessee. He goes to Belmont University, which is near Nashville. Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to ask if you guys had heard anything similar to this before, like Still Woozy. It's called like bedroom pop, indie pop. Still Woozy is a great example. He actually toured with Still Woozy. Claro, who he also toured with.
Yeah, I definitely have, and I'm definitely getting Daniel Caesar vibes off of this album as well.
So I've definitely heard Daniel Caesar before. It's definitely got that influence on there, and it also kind of gave me like Brockhampton vibes, like in the sort of melodies that he went for and these sort of themes of production. Yeah, I've definitely heard indie pop before because Beat Happening is considered indie pop, so we've all
True.
heard that.
That is true.
I haven't really listened to anything like this. I don't know. All those names you guys said, I haven't really heard of or listened to any of their music, but some of the songs on this album sound kind of familiar. I'm just having trouble figuring out who they sound like.
Cool. So I just wanted to get like a glimpse into what we had generally like with experience in this genre.
Interesting.
So I after that, just initial thoughts.
You got it.
Okay. Initial thoughts, I was definitely keeping in mind the influences that this album took in. I was a little frustrated in the beginning with lack of originality with its influences, but I think that changed throughout more listens.
For my first listen, obviously I haven't heard any of the influences you guys are talking about, so it was just like new for me. The first time through, I actually really enjoyed it. After, I think I was telling Victor this the other night, after the past few weeks on this on the podcast, you've been listening to a lot of more like experimental artists like John Frusciante and Bjork and stuff. So this was really nice to not have to listen to something
Be
that's,
Happening.
don't forget Be Happening. And it was just nice to have something that wasn't trying to, be too crazy or experimental or push the envelope too much. He's just, trying to make good sounding music that's not too crazy, which I really enjoyed.
So my initial thoughts were similar to that of Carlos, is that they're kind of lacked originality and had a lot of familiar sounds, and a lot of, even in the melodies he would go for, is very similar to like Daniel Caesar, I think. But in the first listen, I wasn't really thinking about that, honestly. I was more just, it was just pretty.
This album I had added a while ago. I just had never listened to it, which is why I ultimately picked it. But I listened to one of his singles called Puppy Dog, which is like pretty similar to the sound on this album, that kind of like upbeat, happy, summery vibe, and kind of a sound that I've been listening to a lot of recently. So that's off of first listen. I enjoyed most of the album. There's a couple songs in there that I felt could use some work, but I think we'll get into that a little bit. One thing that I was kind of impressed with in this album was a lot of the songs kind of flowed together pretty well, and I was just wondering what you guys like thought about that, if you guys noticed that.
I actually really like that in terms of this album. I thought it helped with its flow and my opinion on the album. I think if it were like hard ends on the beginnings and ending of the songs, I don't think I would have liked it as much.
I guess I have to agree. I mean, the songs that transitioned into the next one with no break was definitely cool. Every time some of the one, like Orange Girl into Tennessee, every time that happened, I would have to check, because I just remembered every time that it's like a flawless transition. like in the middle, it kind of turns into like a different song. Like there's like the whole feel changes and it turns into this other second section, which transitions to Tennessee. So the lines of like song beginning and ending are kind of blurred, I think, a bunch in this album, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. The transition between Orange Girl and Tennessee was like super strong because those were two of the strongest tracks. And I didn't always love the synth passages on every song, but I really liked the beginning of Tennessee. And I thought that catapulted into a great, like, sort of laid back song. But the flow was generally great because the production was probably the most consistent part of the album. It was always taken from a similar place, but it was solid. That was probably the most solid part. It wasn't always amazing, but it was always solid. The one weakness was the love nostalgia little skit there. And it was after Fever, and it was just like, it was super corny. It was like, I knew he was going to try to pull some skit, some narrative out of this with a name like Love Nostalgia, and I was just like, it was an eye roller. I did not like that part.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about talking about that because that was one of the weak points for sure for me. Like, I really like skits like that in albums, but when it's pulled off, it didn't sit right within the album. I thought it kind of disrupted the flow. But yeah, overall, like I think when albums like flow from song to song, like we were just actually talking about "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd, which is one of the best examples of that in my opinion, and that's one of my favorite albums of all time. So I think it's really something that I look for. Do you guys think within this album that there's like any ideas or anything that he used within a song that was just over drawn out throughout all the different songs in the record?
So some ideas that are kind of prominent in a lot of albums in this lane are, especially in Daniel Caesar, but we had an example last week in the playlist of a great use of transitions and progression in that song. Scott picked Too Deep to Turn Back, I believe. But there were times on this album where I felt the instrumentation just kind of carried on, and most of the time it wasn't flavorful or intriguing enough to listen to for a long time. Especially for at least for me, if you're gonna do no vocals and sort of repeat the same ideas over and over, I think it gets weaker.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that. I think you hit the nail on the head. That's like the only really weak point for me in this album, is that just sometimes he just lets the instrumentals carry on for a little bit too long with nothing else really happening, and I just loses my attention.
For me, it didn't really bother. It wasn't too bothersome as much as the lack of originality, which is like the biggest gripe of this album.
And like in that vein of originality, did you guys think this album was overly accessible or like extraordinarily formulaic for a pop album?
I would say, I wouldn't say, I think it was in between overly and underly excessive. I think it was just influenced enough where you can definitely hear and point out the influences that he did pull from, but there was some originality. But I think leaving the album, I wanted more originality from this and from him.
So the accessibility, I think it was super accessible. I think that's probably the strongest part of it, because there are other artists in this lane that maybe are a little bit more experimental or have a little bit more soul influenced or gospel influenced or have electronic parts, like Blood Orange, for example, I would say is less accessible than this, but is also heavily influenced for him. You could play this for anyone. I don't think, like, anyone who's a fan of pop.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's also agree that it's pretty accessible. I mean, I played it for my family who has a wide range of music tastes, and they all enjoyed it. But I think it's definitely accessible. I mean, I don't listen to pop really myself at all, but I really enjoyed this album.
Yeah, I mean, I played it for my mom in the car, and she only listens to country music, and she still jived with it. So
The classic.
Big dog status.
Maybe your PC's hot. That's what happened to mine last week.
Or you freaking tentacle it up, and it was OD like graphics and shit, like
Yeah, make sure you
3D.
turn that off. I just turned mine off. So.
What?
you just turned off the headset.
My second monitor that I showed you before, it just had 24 hentai on it.
I think a few of the songs really struck me as like almost exactly like David or Ryan Beatty, who works with Brockhampton a lot, which is, Victor said he got a lot of Brockhampton vibe. Yeah, like some of them just struck me as they could have been ripped off of his album, and I literally wouldn't have known. Which, I mean, it isn't a bad thing because I still enjoyed it, but it was definitely, there was a lack of originality there. I got past it ultimately, and it didn't really bother me that much. Going from there, what did you guys think about the features? Do you think they should have stood out more, been more prominent, or do you think they should have like mixed it up a little more? What do you guys think?
No, I love them. I love the way they fit into the album. I didn't think they like stood out or they had a bad verse or a bad vocal feature at all. I really liked them. Thought they enhanced the album.
Yeah, I agree completely. I liked in the songs, like the first song was Simple, and then the one towards the end, Bluff, I think. He and the features have like a conversation with their verses, which I thought was really cool and helped the album a lot.
Can you guys hear me? The green isn't showing up. Okay. I was a fan of the features, but I think he should have had more features, maybe rap features or something, because he was kind of going for the rap Brockhampton kind of thing on songs like Lavender and Dreamer. He had a little bit of rap. It seemed like his vocals, I think, were sort of a weakness of the track because they weren't really stand out compared to his colleagues. So I think he should have had more features, and the features that he had worked, except his vocal performance. That was like one of his worst performances, very moany, and I don't think he was good at the moany delivery. And then Steph kind of overshadowed him and made him kind of look bad, and it was kind of weak, kind of playing on the call and response trope of like relationship, call and response. I called your bluff or whatever.
The features did kind of drive the narrative of the album, whole like relationship, nostalgia about love lost or love found or anything. And I think those conversations did kind of help where he was trying to push the album as far as what the subject matter was. He could have definitely used at least a solid rapper to go over Lavender for sure. He was kind of going for that lo-fi, like laid back delivery. Overall, I thought they were good where they were.
What did you guys think about like the vocals overall and the different effects he put on it, or the different types of deliveries he went, or even the lack of variety in the vocals he was going for? Like on Dreamer when he did the whole J. Cole kill Edward KOD corny ass thing, or compared to like his.
I think I did want more from maybe some effects or different features on his voice. I think, like you said, the chipmunk voice or like whatever you want to call it, J. Cole, Brockhampton type influence, that stood out to me. Maybe if he were to release another project, I want to see some variation in his range. I would like to see him experiment with his voice more.
Okay, so
I know I was gonna go. I didn't know that.
I was just gonna stare at you until one of us went.
Okay. My favorite delivery of his was in Falling for the Wrong One. I think he really like tried to push his range a little bit more, especially in the chorus section, which I appreciated. Even though there wasn't a lot of effects on his voice in that one, I did like. I can't remember. Passport. I think like the back half of Passport, he puts an effect on his voice that I really enjoyed. It was more like mellow than a lot of the rest of the songs, more like a dreary effect. I could definitely get behind some more experimentation, especially with his range. I mean, I thought he had a decent enough voice.
Right, yeah, I think it's nothing crazy. Like he has a decent voice, nothing crazy, but maybe if he would improve on his vocal skills for the next album, I'd definitely be looking forward to that.
I liked his voice. I thought his voice was pretty good. There's some places I didn't like it, like on the second half of Dreamer, or maybe like, I don't know, Bluff. Some of the ones in the back half of the album I didn't love too much, but the first half, like Simple and Falling for the Wrong One, I liked his vocals a lot. Didn't feel it needed anything else, and then it fit into the style he was going for pretty well. I mean, I guess I can't reach originality here again, but I thought it fit really well.
A question I had, which is what I mostly focus on in any style of music, is the writing. No, the writing. No, I don't care. No, the writing. So
you don't care about the cover art? Okay.
I mean, I do care about the cover. So what did you guys think about the writing? Because pop can a lot of the time be corny or redundant, and like even great artists like Prince get accused of things like that, being corny, being overly melodramatic and things like that. What did you think about the writing in songs like Falling for the Wrong One, Solstice, Dreamer? Did you think that they moved past sort of the cliches of the love nostalgia theme and the sort of tropes of modern pop or love song writing?
I don't think it was really different. I think it was very safe. If I were to put this album into one word, I'd say safe. He doesn't really do anything crazy with his voice. He doesn't push the boundaries with his vocal melodies or his writing.
I think Carlos pretty much just said all. I don't know. When I listen to this pretty much at all, I don't listen to the lyrics first. I listen to the music first. And then I need the song to capture me enough. And then I get to the lyrics, So in songs like Dreamer, and I didn't focus enough on I wasn't entranced enough by the instrumental to get there, But songs like Falling for the Wrong One, I think. I mean, it's pretty safe. He fits the narrative, the like love, nostalgia narrative pretty well in those songs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I especially agree with what Evan said. Like, I couldn't really dig too deep into Dreamer just because it didn't even really like connect with me that much just musically. But Falling for the Wrong One, it was definitely like simple as far as lyrics. It wasn't hard to follow. And I guess that's almost like point almost because it's pretty basic pop music. Done well, but it's fairly simple. It's pretty easy to get behind, and you can throw this on in the car or at any point and it'll be listened to. to. It's not really meant to be, I feel like, dug too deeply into.
So for me, I think that the writing was another point where it fell really short in certain songs like that. Like otherwise it's a pretty flat ride. Every song's like pretty decent, like consistently decent. In certain points like Simple and Lavender, there was great melodies and great ideas. Like like calling, saying someone is comparing someone directly to something has been around since Shakespeare, comparing her to Lavender. But it was catchy. It was fine. It's pop. I mean, there's going to be songs like that in any pop album. But I think songs like Falling for the Wrong One was just so dumbed down. It was just quoting directly from like what's the first thing you think of when you think of a sour relationship? Like, what did he say? Like, falling for the wrong one. Like, literally every line in like the bridge/chorus version.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
he didn't do anything clever to bring some punchline or some twist. It was just like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Find your freedom, find your freedom. It's like, what is this? Like, it's just like, I'm getting mad about it. I'm getting flustered.
I think that if you would have left Dreamer off, Bluff would have been a better closer, in my opinion.
As soon as I got done with Bluff, in the later listens, I almost just basically turned off the album because I didn't feel like listening to Dreamer anymore.
I wish Bluff had more like some sort of joke about like poker hands or something. That would have been funny. I like to lose all my money in poker, so like he laughed. If you don't know about me, I like to lose money in poker, so I wish he had some like 2-7 offsuit joke or something. Like, you treat me like a 2-7 offsuit or something like that.
A walking pair of twos.
Oh my
Okay.
I'm thinking about the instrumentation of the album. I think he's really good. He used a lot of different instruments. I thought the background vocals in the first few tracks, he creates a lot of nice harmonies, and the bass lines in a number of the tracks were also really good. I have in Orange Girl, the bass line is great. Some songs he would use, like the synth or like a chorus guitar in the first half, and then switch to a more clean guitar with a lot of reverb, and then add strings. I thought his instrumentation choices were really, really nice to create some variety. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought.
Some of the songs that I didn't even really like that much, like Solstice, I thought there was just like sections of it that I really liked, but then there was just parts where I just didn't. And the parts that I did like a lot of the time were the later parts with the instrumentals as it progressed further, like you said, with the strings and stuff like that. And that was one of the strong points for me as well.
What do you guys think?
I think the instrumentals were one of the like I said, consistent parts of it. I really loved the piano at the end of Solstice. I wish he incorporated more like traditional instrumentation, even though that's kind of a trope to have like some ballad where you just play piano. I don't know, maybe mix in the electronic things that he was doing into that more, like on Solstice. Kind of saved the song, in my opinion, that instrumental section. I think the layering was great in some songs, but then there were some songs where it was just absolutely terrible, like on, what's it called? Passport, which I think was the worst song. I forgot to mention that in the writing, but going on to the instrumentation, the lick or the loop sounded like it felt like I heard that exact loop on like I would hear it on a Danny Caesar like Seaside or something. Like the loop was boring. I don't think it had a lot of life to it, and it sounded like it was like what I was having deja vu. I was like, this is exactly like, I don't know. I thought I heard it in another life or something. It seemed recycled.
That's probably a better lyric than he put on Passport. I thought I heard it in another life.
Yeah.
But no, the ink stamps thing was kind of.
All
What do you
right.
guys think about the very beginning of Simple, the intro?
I loved it. I loved how expensive it sounded.
Yeah, it sounded. That's actually so true. It sounded so expensive, actually.
Yeah, it was a great start.
Yeah, I loved it too. That's probably my favorite song. Well, that's a great intro. It just builds all the way up, just a cut for the vocals. It reminded me a little bit of some of the instrumentals from Under Pressure by Logic, trying to be more organic than produced, in his instrumentation.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the absolute high spots in the album for me. I just loved like that beautiful, like it felt like I was watching some like drone video video, some guy going over a cliff in California. Yeah, just like I don't I don't know. It felt
Yeah.
like absolutely majestic almost. And then just to come in with this like punch of the bass and his funky like groove to that song, I thought it was really, really sick.
It kind of reminded me of like Bad Seeds live. Like it was just so organic and raw. It was so raw.
Carlos,
I'm gonna be, dude. That and Carlos, when you said 2 out of 10, I'm about to use that in like every video. Like
Oh
when
my
some,
God.
when someone
2 out
says
of
like
10.
8 point like something, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
that's
put you
what you did in the
saying
last
2 out of
video.
10.
You did that in the last video. I think in the cover art reviews, you're like 0.2 for everyone's score.
What do you guys think about like electric guitar soloing? I know he did it on a little bit on Lavender underneath some of the vocals, and then again on a later track. I forget which one. I thought it was really cool because it's a bit of a break from the rest of the sounds of the album. This like there's not much electric guitar in pop. I don't think. You guys can correct me. There's not very much of it on this album, so I really enjoyed it when he included it. I don't know, you guys give me your thoughts.
I don't know. I thought it felt pretty safe for the genre. I think we've heard this before in this genre, like guitar solos.
Carlos is not feeling
But I
this
mean,
album.
it was nice. Like my problem with the production, I don't know if you want to call it a problem, is this album lacks ambition in my opinion. It's very consistent, very safe, but the things that he does it well. and
Yeah,
it's
it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, execution was definitely there, but the ideas could have been more robust.
I mean, that was, I think, part of the reason I liked it so much is that it's just because it was safe. I mean, I just found it to be like easy listening. I didn't have to like pay too much attention to enjoy it. Like I
Yeah.
could be doing something like my dad is doing pottery and he wanted me to like teach me how to like make a bowl. So I put on the music and I just work, and it's like I can just keep it on and enjoy it without having to focus too much or think too much about what's happening. Simple, and it's groovy and it's catchy. It's just good, easy listening.
Yeah, I think that's a good identifier for this album. It's pottery making music.
Yeah.
Rick, I'm not gonna leave again, but
But in terms of the guitar solo, I honestly didn't even remember it. I don't think it was lively enough to catch my attention. I don't even remember that solo. And I tore
remember-
this album
sorry.
apart. I listened to it like 30 times, and I don't even remember.
Straight dismantled this album, broke it down. He was like genius doing the.
I wrote all the Genius pages for this album. Check
Listen to it
Genius.
instrument by instrument, track by track.
Yeah, it's like 48
Deconstructed.
tracks.
No, I do remember hearing them. They didn't like stick out and like really just punch me too much. It just they were well executed again. Like the execution of this album was there. It wasn't anything like it wasn't like a highlight of.
Scott wants to
Yeah.
get punched by the instrumental. He wants to be abused.
I thought it fit in pretty well. I don't know. I didn't think it had to be this crazy, like fast as possible solo. It was fit the atmosphere of the songs. And it worked well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, favorite tracks, least favorite tracks. We'll go favorites first. Carlos.
Give me Lavender. I really like the combination of his rapping and singing on that. Give me Fever,
Samba.
which I know is one of Victor's favorite. That's got a good hook. It's very catchy. And give me Bluff too. I really like that one.
My favorite, I guess I'll pick 3 because Carlos picked 3. Precedent has been set. I think my favorite was Simple. That's my favorite song. Unpopular opinion, I liked Falling for the Wrong One.
2 out of 10.
I just like-
Put the 2 out of
I
10
just
there.
like the instrumental. I thought it was catchy and it captured like, the right emotions for the song. And then I think Lavender would be the third one.
For me, I would have to say Fever is the absolute standout. Love that song. Forget everything I said about everything. This song delivered on the writing. It delivered on the melodies. It was simple. It was fun. It was catchy. Great, great, great song, Fever. Except for the skit at the end was absolutely shit, but it didn't ruin the song. Besides that, Lavender. And I guess third, I like Tennessee. I think that was a good laid back song. 2 out of 10.
For me, definitely number 1 was Simple. I just found myself going back and listening to that song like outside of just listening straight through the album. The other ones, I'm gonna have to go with Bluff. I really enjoyed that one. Evan, I have to agree with you. Falling for the Wrong One. I know the writing wasn't there, but it just really it was super catchy, and I just really enjoyed the song. Ross,
Least
his
favorite?
favorites.
Least favorites.
Definitely Dreamer, and I'm gonna have to go with Orange Girl. I thought those were pretty boring.
Shit, I did my remote back out. Unpopular opinion. Controversial opinion.
Not boring, but just safe. I was kind of looking for more.
Okay. My least favorite was probably Passport and then Dreamer. But Dreamer is just a given. It's like Dreamer is the new High Road. For all your OG
The new,
fans.
Christmas, or what's the other one from last week?
No, Christmas is fine.
Honey Pie, yeah.
Yeah, and then Yeah, so
How you used to say.
For me, I think the same as Victor. I mean, those are just kind of like forgettable for me. Dreamer I just didn't like, and Passport was not memorable.
Yeah, I if I discount Dreamer because I didn't really listen to it because I hated it.
2 out of
I'm
10.
gonna go 2 out of 10 for
new
sure.
high road.
I'm gonna go with Passport and then like the first half of song, if I can
Yep.
do that.
Yeah, my favorite song was Cinch for sure. I know you have to do
Alright,
this. I hate doing the numbers, man.
Oh, Evan, Mason the
Hole in
numbers.
the Wall, aka
While definitely embracing on its influences and lacking in originality and ambition, I think this is a pretty safe and standard album for the genre of bedroom pop. So I'm gonna give this a
Round 2. Fight!
Okay.
I'll go next. Me next. I liked it. I thought, I don't have any preconceived notions about the genre or the artist like you guys might. So it was just like very surface level for me. I wasn't too worried about ambitions and stuff. I guess, like I said before, it was nice to have something that wasn't too experimental to just enjoy. Again, like it was just good. It was good, easy listening, like background music that I could just catchy and simple. I think you did a good job with layering and instrumentation. I think I will go back to some of these songs, again, for like background music while I'm doing, work or
Pottery.
projects or whatever. I think I'm going to give it a 7.0.
For me, I think the writing wasn't really there for me overall. There was a couple good songs like Lavender and Fever in terms of writing. The instrumentals were pretty safe. I'd say they're just middle of the pack. I'm not mad at them except for Passport. The theme and the flow of the album, he didn't even have to bring in any skits or any theme, but he did. So that's definitely going to be minus some points. But overall, it was like a solid pop project. I mean, like a 4.8.
2 out of 10. For me, I really enjoyed it. I mean, Dreamer discounts it a point automatically, but it is what it is. I really thought that the ideas were executed well. They were simple and very, very poppy. That's what I was looking for in it, It's definitely a lot of the songs I'm going to put on some like summertime playlists because easy listening, kind of up-tempo, happy songs to listen to. I'm going to give this album like a 7.2 out of 10. I'm not like mad, but I'm pretty upset. I had to actually do research
What do you got, son?
on this. Yeah, I couldn't just go to Wikipedia. I had to actually I guess the real fun fact, I kind of talked about it a little bit, but he has toured with Clairo, Still Uzi, and Omar Khan, which you can hear influences from all of them in the music pretty heavily. Other than that, he goes to Belmont University, and I lived at that school. So,
Hey, man, it's pretty cool.
wow.
Fuck with me. All right, so good job, guys.
Big D, what we should start doing is saying that you have to handle it next week.
No, it's gotta be secret.
Why? That'd be the secret.
Yeah.
secret.
All right, we can say it. All right, go.